Alright, so the Wednesday Night Wars have officially begun, and I just got done watching AEW Dynamite and NXT, and I'm going to tell you guys who I thought was the winner this week, and I want you guys to also tell me who you thought won, because I'm going to post up a poll on the top right corner of the video, and you guys can go ahead and vote on who you thought was the winner this week. So, right off the bat, I just want to say that I thought both shows were solid shows. This definitely wasn't a landslide win for AEW or NXT. They both put out great shows, so this is a close one. And I will say this before I get to the meat and potatoes, aka the matches and such. As far as the look, the presentation, I'd say AEW takes it. Just because it looks like a bigger deal, because of the arena, because of the bigger crowd. It feels like something like a Raw or SmackDown or a WCW or something like that. While NXT is still in the same spot with a smaller crowd, but I will say this, a plus for NXT is that crowd. That NXT crowd is loud. And when it comes to the entrances, WWE NXT takes it. Entrances is kind of one of AEW's weaker things. I think the best entrance music is probably Jericho's, and nobody's real, entrance music stands out there really, or entrance in general. But let's go ahead and get to the actual matches, right? As far as the opener goes, when it came to AEW, I thought they started it off in a solid way with Cody Rhodes versus Sammy, and it was a solid match. It started off with Sammy looking kind of nervous because he was kind of messing up, in the very beginning with some slip-ups and such, but then it started picking up. I'd say one of the better, if not the best Cody Rhodes match I've seen since he came out from the WWE. And then when it came to NXT, they started things off in a really big way with the NXT Championship match. The NXT title on the line, Adam Cole versus Matt Riddle, and I've got to say, NXT also put out a great match. It was an action-packed match throughout the entire thing with reversal after reversal. It was exciting. It was a fun match. And in the end, Cody Rhodes won his match. Adam Cole went ahead and won his match and retained the NXT Championship. And then after the AEW match, we get Jericho attacking Cody Rhodes. Of course, they've got a championship match coming up, so that makes sense. And it also led into what happened afterwards in the show. Fine with that. Powerbomb through the chairs, that was good too. And then on the NXT side, we get Finn Balor returning to NXT to announce that he is now NXT prior to even the draft that they're supposed to have. So now Finn Balor is part of the NXT roster, so that's a big addition there. But is he just there for a short period of time and then he gets drafted back to Raw? I don't know, but that was a surprise, and I could see some people not liking it, some people liking it, depending on how they feel about NXT and a superstar going back there. I thought it was fine. I wonder how Finn feels about it though. The first ever Universal Champion now in NXT. But as far as opener versus opener, I've got to give it to NXT for this one. I mean, they put up their most important title as the first match, and between the two matches, I enjoy the NXT Championship match better than AEW's opener, but that's not to say that AEW's opener was bad, because it definitely wasn't. It was also a really good match. But NXT edges it out here for me, so gonna give him the opener. And then when it came to the in-between the opener and the main event, I thought both of them had some solid mid-card matches, and I thought both of them, or neither one, had some bad matches. And now, of course, there were some matches better than others, but as far as AEW goes, they managed to squeeze in 3 matches in between the first match and the main event, while NXT managed to squeeze in 4 matches. The highlight for me when it came to the mid-card on AEW's side was definitely the Women's Championship match, Riho versus Nyla Rose. Now, I was personally rooting for Riho. She ended up winning, so happy with that, but I actually also enjoyed the match. And one thing I noticed from the two shows, they both had picture-to-picture commercials, and I noticed that when it came to WWE's presentation and what they did during the commercials, it was mostly submissions, mostly holds and such, things that weren't that impactful. While with AEW, for instance, in this Women's Championship match, we saw Nyla Rose hit that top rope knee on Riho, so it felt like we got more important stuff or cooler stuff, more action-packed stuff during the commercials or during the picture-to-picture commercials with AEW than with WWE. So you felt like, oh, maybe I should have missed the commercials, or maybe I shouldn't go ahead and go get something in the meanwhile, because I might miss something cool with AEW, while with NXT, it's probably somebody in an abdominal stretch or something like that. So just an observation there. But yeah, highlight for me was the women's title match. What happened afterwards though with Nyla Rose, attacking Riho post-match and then Kenny Omega stopping her, I thought that was kind of weirdish, but maybe it's leaning into Kenny Omega versus Nyla. I don't know, but personally, I would have much rather seen Nyla Rose actually go all out, no pun intended, and just destroy Riho post-match, and then maybe that leads to like a no disqualification rematch or something like that. But as far as NXT and their mid-card, also enjoyed that, and the highlight for me was definitely the Pete Dunne versus Danny Burch match, although throughout the entire match, when Morrow's giving his commentary or mentioning Danny Burch's name, each time he mentions his name, it sounds like he's saying Daddy Burch. So it's kind of weird there, but really enjoyed that match. It was just two dudes, with solid strikes going at it. And I knew Pete Dunne was going to win at the end. I'm pretty sure, isn't that Danny Burch guy like part of a tag team? Where's his partner? Pretty sure I saw him in a tag team before. I'm guessing he's injured or something like that. Don't know. But really enjoyed that. For me, that was my favorite match in the mid-card for NXT. And now as far as the other matches on both shows, one thing I will give AEW, because this was one of my issues with the AEW matches on pay-per-views, it felt like a lot of matches, or all the matches, went on too long, where every match was like it had to be at least 20 minutes, and there wasn't that issue on this show. In fact, one of the matches, Brandon Cutler versus MJF, lasted like 5 minutes or less. Don't know if Brandon Cutler actually got injured or not. I was thinking it was part of the match where he got hurt, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure though, I think it's part of the match. But anyways, yeah, they didn't have that issue here. We didn't get every single match at least 20 minutes and matches that lasted longer than they should have. And when it came to NXT, also felt that the matches, ended when they should have ended. They didn't go on far too long or past when they should have ended. I also thought Shayna versus Candice LeRae was cool, and when it came to AEW, Paige versus Neville or Pac was good too. Although I will say this, I thought the match was a bit, overhyped, because I preferred personally Cody Rhodes versus Sammy, the opener, compared to Pac versus Paige. And when it comes to the interviews, I prefer the interview with Adam Cole compared to the interview with SCU. I like how Adam Cole was trying to justify, him using the cast and how it's required for him to have it to compete, and denying that, it was involved in him winning the match, or part of the reason, or a big reason why he won the match against Matt Riddle. Now, when it comes to the two-make card, once again, I'm giving the edge to NXT, but it's not by a large margin or anything like that. And then, when it comes to the main event, both of them put out some solid main events. I love both main events, and I'm going to pair the main events here with what happened after the main events, because I'm comparing the two here, reviewing the two as far as how I got entertained, and not necessarily just the match quality. So, when it came to AEW's main event, of course, it was Jericho teaming up with LAX, although they're not called that in AEW, versus Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Enjoyed the both of them. On AEW's side, I really liked Jon Moxley popping up, right behind Kenny Omega, and that shot right there with him pointing at Kenny Omega and Kenny Omega feeling that somebody's behind him, and then that brawl that they had, taking it to the back, and then the dirty deeds, or the elevated dirty deeds, through the glass. That was cool. And the actual match too, and I love how Jericho stopped the Dave Meltzer driver, or the Meltzer driver, with the Codebreaker to Nick in midair, and then the Judas Effect for the win. Still not the biggest fan of the Judas Effect, but I did like how he stopped the Meltzer driver. I did like the involvement of Jon Moxley, although I will say this, how come there was no, they didn't announce this as a no DQ match? And that's one of the issues I have with AEW sometimes, is the rules. And in this case, there was no announcement that this was a no DQ match. And I guess the referee's it's just up to the referee. He decides if he wants to, give it a disqualification or not, or whatever. Jon Moxley gets involved, attacks one of the competitors, and there's no disqualification. So then it's left to Jericho and his group, Jericho and LAX, versus just the Young Bucks. And of course, Jericho and LAX win the match. And then what happened afterwards was pretty cool. Everybody coming in, attacking each other. Cody Rhodes coming in for the save. And then Sammy comes in. He low blows Cody. I thought they were cool because they shook hands earlier, but I guess not. And then Goldust comes in to save his brother. And then afterwards, and I had heard about this prior to the show, and I was like, really? Jack Swagger, now known as Jake Hager, he comes in, clothesline Goldust in the back of the head, and then he pretty much beats up everybody else, hits that splash that he used to do in the corner, and then they brought out this table, an actual table, not the breakable ones, the wrestling tables, and then he hits the gut-wrench powerbomb, and it's been a while since I've seen that, on the table, or on Goldust onto the table, and then it looks like Jake Hager, Chris Jericho, Sammy, as well as LAX are now in this new group. So like they pulled out an NWO right from the beginning, or I guess a competitor to the Undisputed Era, and I'm a fan of factions. I'm a fan of stables, groups, so I like this, and now this has got me going, oh, I want to see what happens next week. I want to see what happens with this group. Now, I wasn't too excited about Jack Swagger being like this surprise for the first show when I first heard about it prior to the show, but with him in a group, I like the idea of this. I like this a lot more than if he had just came, back on his own and like he targets Jericho for the title or something like that. I prefer this much more where Jericho as a leader of a faction. This has got me really interested in what happens next with this group. And when it comes to NXT, a really good main event match. Montez has some genders on him, but yeah, they put out a great match. And in the end, the Undisputed Era wins the match. And then afterwards, Tommaso goes ahead and returns, goes face-to-face with Adam Cole, and now Adam Cole has got Finn Balor and the returning champion Tommaso on his tracks. So, as far as the main event goes, I've got to give it to AEW. Both solid main events, but that last scene, after the tag match, a six-man tag team, this new faction, that's got me really interested in what happens next and seeing how they handle this group, this faction. So, overall, this was a really close one. NXT takes the opener, they take the main card, but AEW takes that main event. So, I gotta give it to NXT by just a little bit. NXT takes technically 2 points, and AEW takes 1, but honestly, it feels like a 0.5 difference. But that's just my opinion. I want you guys to go ahead and vote in the poll in the top right corner so we can see what the majority thinks that watches this video. So, that's it for that. If you guys want this to be a weekly thing, click that like button down below. Leave your thoughts on the shows in the comments section. Solid shows from the both of them. I enjoyed my time. I'm out. See ya.